We see many of these logos every day, and we think that we know what they mean, but there are interesting stories behind many of them, and sometimes you'll find out that even the designers didn't like their own logos. Make sure you watch our video until the end to see which logo cost $35 and which logo cost $1 million. If this is your first time visiting our channel, don't forget to subscribe, and please give this video a big thumbs up. Today we are showing you 10 most misunderstood logos. Apple. You have probably heard about the story behind the Apple logo. Alan Turing was a mathematician and scientist who worked on the development of computers in the 50s. Unfortunately, homosexuality was against the law at that time, and people discovered that Turing was in a relationship with a man. This is why he was treated with estrogen injections, because people believed that it would cure his homosexuality. He also ended up behind bars and was not recognized for his work. To end his suffering, Alan Turing bit into an apple full of cyanide, and this is where people believe that the Apple logo comes from. The fruit with a bite taken out of it is an homage to this man, and the rainbow represents the LGBT community. However, you might be surprised that this story is nothing but a myth. Do you want to know the real story behind the logo? The apple actually represents knowledge, and the reason why there is a bite taken out of it is only for scale. Rob Janoff, the man who designed the logo, wanted to make sure that people would understand that it is an apple and not another fruit like a cherry or a tomato. But don't you think that the myth is much more interesting? Even Janoff says that he is charmed by the links that his logo has to this tragic story. Ferrari. You will probably recognize the horse on the logo of this Italian sports car manufacturer. Many of us would think that it represents horsepower, used to measure the power of an engine, but we would be wrong. There's actually a much more interesting story to explain why Ferrari is associated with a horse. The story starts with Count Francesco Baracca, a heroic pilot in the First World War who had a horse painted on the side of his plane. Unfortunately, the man passed away during the conflict. This was when his mother had the idea to meet Enzo Ferrari, the founder of the brand. She explained what happened to her son and told him that he should use a picture of a horse on his cars, believing that it would bring him good luck. And she was right to think so, because Ferrari is still one of the most popular brands nowadays. Originally, the horse was red on a white cloud background, but Ferrari decided to make the horse black in homage to Francesco and made the background yellow to represent the city where he used to live. He also added the colors green, white, and red to represent Italy. This is how he created a logo that doesn't only inspire drive and energy, but also has a beautiful meaning. And this is a tale that Enzo told just once, so you want to make sure to remember it. Android. We can recognize this little green robot no matter where we go. But could you believe that he was misunderstood by his own creator, Irina Bloch? Working as a designer at Google, she and her team were asked to create a logo involving a robot that anyone could identify. So Bloch studied science fiction and came up with this idea, inspired by the pictogram of men and women that we can see on restroom doors. With her colleagues, she also agreed that the logo would be open-sourced, meaning that everyone in the world could customize it any way they want. As most companies defend their trademark with lawsuits, she said that it was daring to let anyone use their logo for free. But we love the idea and think that it's really fun to reimagine the logo as different characters. However, Irina was disappointed by the logo that she created. She said that the open source gave the little robot a life of his own. When she was in a movie theater, the little robot appeared on the screen, and her daughter yelled that her mommy invented this funny character. Everyone turned to look at her, and Irina felt embarrassed to be the one behind the logo, and we don't understand why. We think that the Android logo is really cute, and she should be proud of her creation. Monster. People have different opinions on energy drinks. Some people think that it's unhealthy, and others can't keep themselves from drinking it, so they just ignore this fact. However, there is one woman who thinks that the drink is actually hiding something evil. She believes that the drink conceals satanic imagery, and this is an example of how clever the devil is. If you can't see what's wrong with the Monster energy drink, you are not alone. This is why we'll let this woman explain what she thinks. She thinks that the letter M is actually made of a Hebrew symbol, the letter Vav, that is also the number 6. When you put 3 of these symbols together, it makes the number 666, which is associated with the devil. She also thinks that the slogan, "Unleash the Beast," is associated with the devil, as he can be portrayed in the Bible. But what shocked her the most is the cross in the letter O. She is still wondering what the Christ has to do with it, and we are still wondering why she is asking herself so many questions. With more than 2 million views in less than 24 hours on her video, we think that this crazy story gave a lot of attention to the brand. Unfortunately, it is not available anymore, so this woman won't be able to save the world from this monster. NASA. The National Aeronautics and Space Administration is a serious independent agency, so we think that their logo would be serious too. But over the years, it just keeps having funny nicknames. The official insignia is probably the best-known logo of the NASA. In this symbol, you can see the stars representing the space, the circle representing a planet, the red vector representing aeronautics, and the circular orbit representing space travel. The colors can also be associated with the flag of the United States of America. It seems like James Motorelli did everything right when he designed the logo in 1959, NASA's second year. Unfortunately, people started making fun of the logo by calling it the meatball. It was used for more than 15 years, but in 1975, NASA tried something more modern. This was when they created a new logo, consisting of the word NASA with a unique type style. They probably probably thought that no one would see anything wrong with this logo, but many people made fun of it again. They nicknamed it the Worm. This new logo lasted for a couple of years until it retired in 1992, and the organization decided to use the famous meatball again, no matter how people call it. They are now probably proud of these funny nicknames, as they are not shy to use it on their official website, Lacoste. What does a crocodile have to do with a brand of clothes that doesn't even use the skin of any reptile? If you have been wondering why there is an animal on one of your favorite shirts, you'll have to listen to this story. In Boston in 1923, René Lacoste was walking down the street with his tennis team captain, Alan Moore. This is when he saw a beautiful crocodile suitcase in a store's window display. As they were getting ready for a game that afternoon, they bet that if Lacoste won the match, Moore would give him the suitcase that he wants. The owner of the brand did his best, but unfortunately lost and didn't get the suitcase. But a journalist, George Cairns, heard the story and decided to make a fun joke about it in his article. He said that even though Lacoste didn't win, he fought like a crocodile. Since that day, it became his nickname, and it is still associated with the power and persistence of his game. Just because you lose doesn't mean you can't win in another way. Lacoste made the best of this failure to turn it into his best-looking success. So if you're getting ready for a tennis match, make sure you wear your favorite shirt and be inspired to fight like a crocodile, whether you win or not. BMW. You've probably seen this logo before, but did you know what it actually means? Many people think that it represents a propeller blade set against a blue sky. As Bavarian Motor Works used to build aircraft engines in the 20th century, this theory would make sense. It could be a way to represent the origin of the brand. But the real story behind this logo is actually much simpler. When journalist Stephen Williams for the New York Times visited German car museums, he heard the real reason why the logo of BMW is blue and white. Just to make sure that his tour guide was right, he decided to call BMW North America. The spokesman of the company answered that the shape and configuration of the roundel was meant to replicate a spinning propeller against a blue sky background. Everything would make us think that the tour guide was wrong, but Williams decided to ask more questions. Another spokesman from the company called to tell him the truth. He said that people working at BMW themselves used to think that it was a propeller against a blue sky because of a 1929 advertisement, but they found out recently that it actually represents the colors of the Bavarian Free State. This is the proof that you should always take the time to ask as many questions as you want. Sometimes this is how you find out that one person was right while all the others were wrong. Uber. The logo of this company used to be really simple. The letter U was enough for us to associate it with the name of the brand. But recently, Uber changed its logo and people were disappointed. They say that it represents bits and atoms. We couldn't think of a worse way to make a logo stand out, as there are bits and atoms everywhere around us. There is no way anyone is going to associate it with this kind of service. Many people thought that Uber just failed to distinguish their company from everything else with this logo. But they had a better explanation. Uber used to be a way to summon black cars, and this is why a red magnet represented the company at that time. Then they changed it to a black logo with the letter U to represent that everyone could be a private driver. But nowadays, Uber does pretty much everything you can do with a car. It is not only used as a transportation service, but drivers can also deliver food to your home. As the company keeps changing, they want to show that they can do anything. Bits and atoms might be everywhere, but so is Uber. When we think of it this way, the logo isn't so bad after all. We already got used to it anyway. Nike. This is one of the best-known logos in the world. The company doesn't even need to add their name in the logo anymore, as the swoosh is enough for people to recognize the brand. But at first, the logo wasn't really appreciated, and it was actually so cheap that even you could buy many logos like that. In 1971, Phil Knight decided to make his own shoes. This was when he started his company that we now all know as Nike. However, it didn't have a name at that time, neither a logo. This was when he decided to ask a student at the university where he was working to help him. The lucky one was Carolyn Davidson, a graphic design student. She couldn't afford a painting class, so he approached her and asked if she would like to do some freelance work for his company. They agreed on the amount of money that she would be paid for designing the logo. She showed Knight a handful of designs, and he didn't like any of them. But the swoosh wasn't so bad. He really did say that he didn't love the swoosh, but maybe it will grow on him. It is crazy to think that Phil Knight didn't even like his own logo. And do you want to know how much Davidson was paid? The student received only $35 for her work. Pepsi. In 2009, the soft drink company spent $1 million to create a new logo. And we can't believe that the result was simply this. The logo looked like the one we saw before, but with a little different wave. However, the designers believe that there are many reasons why we should love this new logo. Arnell Group is responsible for this expensive symbol. They said that going back to the roots moves the brand forward as it changes the trajectory of the future. Then they started talking about a lot of scientific things like the golden ratio. According to them, these proportions are universally and aesthetically pleasing. They think that the golden ratio plays an essential role in human perception of beauty. In their PDF document that takes too much time to download, they also associated the logo with the Parthenon, the Mona Lisa, Hindu traditions, numerical harmony, Descartes, and much more. They also talked about the energy field's imbalance, the sun radiation, and the Earth's gravitational field, even though we don't really know what it means. It looks like Arnell Group was just looking for a lot of reasons to make that logo worth $1 million. If it's scientific, it must be true, right? We don't think so. Were you surprised to hear any of these stories behind the most famous logos? Don't be shy to tell us which one you prefer. We love to hear what you think. And that's it for 10 most misunderstood logos. If you want to see more stories like this, make sure you watch 15 Secret Messages in Famous Logos. Thanks for watching.